Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and what the hell? I've been reviewing the first two Rush Hour movies, so I might as well get to Rush Hour 3, which is a 2007 comedy film that is obviously, once again, directed by Brett Ratner. The plot of this movie is it's been only 3 years or so since the events of the last movie, even though realistically it's been like 6. And you see Chris Tucker, who's almost been demoted as a detective, and Jackie Chan is still working for the ambassador of Hong Kong until he's almost assassinated, and then his daughter becomes a target. So Jackie Chan's trying to figure out what's going on, who's behind this, until he finds out that it's his own brother who's trying to kill this guy. So of course Chris Tucker goes along for the ride as they try to stop this guy in France. Now, what I think of Rush Hour 3 is, I don't hate this movie. I don't. It's not horrible. It's not the worst comedy film I've ever seen. I remember when it first came out, and my friends and I all went to go see it because we like the Rush Hour movies. And we saw it, and we didn't like it, and we sort of just made fun of it the whole time and just wasn't impressed. So, rewatching it now, it's kind of like I'm watching it and thinking, alright, it's not as bad as I remember, but it's still not that good. Let's break this down a little bit. Jackie Chan as Inspector Lee is probably the best thing about this film. I think he plays this more straight in this film than he does in the first two, really. He still has some pretty cool action scenes, some fighting scenes. You could tell he's older, so it's not as specific, it's not as involved, it's not as choreographed as the first two movies. But he's still in there doing chase scenes, you see him doing it, so I can be impressed with that. And I like the fact that the main villain of the film is Kenji, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, and he is Jackie Chan's brother in this film. And I like that all three of these movies, in fact, have been very closely connected to Jackie Chan, Lee's character, and his backstory, and even the fact that he almost denounced his brother, doesn't recognize him as his brother, never told Chris Tucker about him. I thought all of those elements were interesting, and when the two finally come face to face at the end, it's the best part of the film. And it's not even like a comedic part of the movie. It's the most straightforward plot that they have, and I'm taking it as a real story. Now that brings me to Chris Tucker as Detective Carter. I like Chris Tucker. If you see my reviews for the first two Rush Hour movies, you will see how funny I think he is, how charismatic I think he is. After Rush Hour 2, he just disappeared. You didn't see him in anything. And from what I heard, it was either because he became religious, maybe, or it's because he got so much of a nice payday from Rush Hour 2. I'm talking like millions and millions of dollars that he didn't have to work. He said, fuck it, I don't want to be in Hollywood anymore. I don't need the spotlight. And he went off. And he only came back for this film because it was yet another payday. Parts of me understands that, like why not? But another part of me thinks, wow, Chris Tucker, especially in that first Rush Hour movie, reminds me so much of a young Eddie Murphy, like when Eddie Murphy was funny, the good Eddie Murphy, that you want to see what Chris Tucker was going to do next, or what type of different comedy movies he would do, and if he had range and stuff, but he never really showed that. So when all these years later, he comes back, I would say a little anticipated, I don't know. I guess it's just, not only are you seeing sort of the same thing, which is fine, he gave me some chuckles in this film, but I don't think his character was written all that well. I'm not so quick to say that he's older, so it's not as funny. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they wrote him really annoying here. first two movies, sure, maybe him and Jackie Chan don't always agree, but at the end of the day, they had each other's back, and you felt like it. You felt like they respected each other. You felt like they weren't assholes to each other. This film, they talk about the Isabella girl, the one who Jackie Chan was able to be with in Rush Hour 2. But here they talk about how Chris Tucker shot her and sort of scared her off. That's why Jackie Chan's not with her anymore. I'm like, okay, that's fucked up. But then just throughout the whole film, Chris Tucker's making these remarks that just make you think that he's more of a dick now. Or he's just more annoying, where he's more out for himself. He's not really there to care as much for the well-being of Jackie Chan. He's selfish. It's just, you kind of go like, I don't like this guy as much. I don't. And that's really disappointing. I almost don't like hearing myself say that, but that's just the feeling I get watching him here. Sue Young is the little girl who was the daughter of the ambassador from the first movie. Here, she's grown up, and I like the fact that they brought this character back. I mean, I don't think it's the same actress, but what is weird is that in the movie's timeline, it's only been 3 years, technically, since the first movie, right? Because Rush Hour 2 takes place right after Rush Hour 1. I think so. And then there's a line where Chris Tucker says it's been 3 years. She must only be like 14, 15 years old. But then when they first sort of see her again, and Chris Tucker's hugging her, he's kind of making jokes about her being grown up and attractive. And it's like, okay, that's fucking creepy. Who knows? Maybe she is actually older, and maybe I'm just getting that timeline wrong. I don't know. It still came off as creepy. Nimi Lenore as Genevieve, and she's this character when they're in France, which, by the way, the France location I did like. It's a beautiful looking city. It's definitely on my bucket list to go to France, Paris one day. Even the end fight when they're on the Eiffel Tower, it's like, how can you not at least enjoy that setting? But this Genevieve character, I liked her. She was fine. She was hot, so there was that. And she was a love interest for Chris Tucker, which is actually surprisingly something different from the Rush Hour movies. He hasn't really gotten the ladies all that much in these movies. And the big surprise with her character was fine. Okay, she became very essential to the plot, so sure. And there was a side character, this cab driver, who initially he was a little racist against Americans. He didn't want to drive Chris Tucker. At first, is it because he's black? No, it's because he's American and he thinks they're all about war and violence. But then, once he gets a little taste of it, once he gets caught up in a chase scene with them and he's driving them away from the violence, he gets into it. And he has this ongoing joke of wanting to be with them, wanting to be an American because it's fun. And if his character got more screen time, he could have been more annoying. That's true. But he was in it little here and there. And the payoff with him, I like the character. All in all, Rush Hour 3, it's an okay film. Just okay. I don't think the writing's as good. I don't think there's as much energy put into the script or some of these jokes. It's just, you could tell that they're only here because the first two movies were successful and they want to make a payday off of it. That's really the only thing I get from this movie. It could have been worse, though. It could have. I'm not shitting on it. If you do tell me you don't like this movie, I'm not going to be quick to defend it either. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Rush Hour 3? Do you like it more than I do, or do you think it sucks? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!